Hey guys, what is up? Old Shaman here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1, Phantom Blood, for you all today. And before I start this video, I would just like to say that I'm a huge JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fan, but I'm not going to have any bias in this review. I'm going to just tell it how it is, my overall thoughts of the story, as well as the quality of the release, as that's basically what you guys all want to hear, and basically also see whether or not this is worth investing in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the talking points. The first point I would like to make is, of course, the quality of these JoJonium volumes that are currently being released. Right now they are up to part 3, which is Stardust Crusaders. But here we have is volume 1 of the JoJonium volumes. And first off, would like to say quality is absolutely phenomenal. Viz did a great job. First off, hardcover, that's always nice. And then of course they retail for $19.99, which of course you can probably get for cheaper online or for a deal. Really nice overall. The artwork is absolutely amazing. And then of course what is also featured in these JoJonium volumes is the featuring of colored pages, which is absolutely cool and amazing, and just, you know, it's always good having colored pages in JoJo. So anyways, let's go ahead and get right into the story. First off, here we have featured on the first 3 volumes, or really the whole complete series of part 1, is we have Jonathan Joestar, Will Antonio Cepelli, and then of course we have Dio, who is these 3 guys are essentially our main cast here in part 1. There of course is more characters that are featured, but this is really our main cast, and who we see more often in the series. So the story essentially starts out, we have Jonathan Joestar, who comes from a rich family, and then of course we have Dio, who is our main antagonist, who comes from, he's basically, we have the prince and we have the pauper, essentially, except it doesn't end in the way that you would see fit. Essentially, there is a huge rivalry between Jonathan Joestar as well as Dio, and what we see over the course of the story is we basically get this sort of wild adventure story, you know, hence the name JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Later on in the story, Dio essentially uses what is called the Stone Mask, and what the Stone Mask does is that it awakens hidden abilities within the human body, basically causing you to become what you would quote-unquote say as a immortal. Now, I'm not considering that a spoiler because I think everyone knows that Dio is, you know, he's a villain at heart. He's absolutely brutal when it comes to getting in Jonathan Joestar's life, basically making it a living hell and ruining it to the fullest extent. And as we see Jonathan grow up, we see that Dio and Jonathan, you know, they hate each other. They essentially don't like each other. And that is sort of the theme that is played out throughout the story. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with part 1, unlike with parts 3 through 6, we don't have what is called the stand. We have what is called the Hamon, which is essentially the ability that is featured within parts 1 and 2, and of course a little bit in part 3 as well. But what the Hamon is basically through the controlling of sunlight energy as well as energy within the human body, you are able to conjure as well as to breathe out the energy that is created by the sun. That is essentially what the Hamon ability is. And I know I could talk on and on for, you know, days about how the ability really does play a vital role within the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure universe, but of course that's a topic for another video entirely. So essentially what happens is Dio becomes a vampire and he plots to essentially destroy the JoJo family bloodline. He ends up basically getting into a pretty big battle with Jonathan, and it basically incapacitates Dio, but he ends up escaping, and Jonathan as well ends up he basically vows to find and defeat Dio in the name of justice. And what we get from here is that we have Will Antonio Cepelli, who becomes Jonathan's Hamon trainer, as well as we find other great characters throughout the series, such as Speedwagon, and of course we have the all-star cast here. We have, of course, we have Dio and Jonathan Joestar, which are basically the two best characters in the series. Now, what part 1 does suffer from is Araki's early art style as well as his early writing. And I would have to say a lot of people aren't a big fan of Araki's early art style. I don't have a problem with it. I think that the art is still really awesome in this volume, in basically Phantom Blood entirely. But I know a lot of people do not like the early art style. I can only tell you guys this, is that the art style gets better and better with each part. Part 1 definitely has a few things that it suffers from, in that it has, I would have to say, I still love the cast in Part 1, but I will agree that Part 1 has probably the weakest cast out of any story in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Don't get me wrong, I love Jonathan Joestar. He definitely is a really great protagonist. He has a lot of heart, and he also has a lot in the name of justice. He's trying to seek out Dio, defeat him, and Dio, of course, is trying to defeat Jonathan in order to gain the Joestar family fortune. And that is sort of the course of the series, is that we have this constant battle between these two. And that is something that I really, really do enjoy in the series. So, again, one of the few problems that I find in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1 is also in the writing. The writing and the pacing of the series isn't very good. There are a few segments within the first volume, for instance, that is kind of boring and at times uninteresting. You sort of lose interest with the first volume, and that happens to a lot of people. However, once you get to about volume 2, when we start to see a few of the battles with the Haman, it starts to get really interesting and really sort of invest into the story and start to love some of the battles that are featured. And then, of course, we have the final battle with Dio, which is also really awesome as well. So anyways, guys, that is basically my thoughts and my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1. Now, like I said, I know a lot of people are going to be discouraged by Part 1, saying that it's just not their cup of tea, the writing and the art style just isn't for them. But you gotta give it some time. And whether or not you guys decide that Part 1 is where you finish the series and say, alright, I'm not gonna buy JoJo any further, Part 2 is definitely something that makes up for the slow writing and sort of the bleh art style in later volumes. I will say that now. Part 2 is definitely it plays a lot better out compared to Part 1, in my personal opinion. As a JoJo fan, I love every single part, but I know that a lot of people express their disliking for Part 1. I will say it gets better with each individual volume of the JoJonium series. And by the time you guys hit Part 3, I will definitely say that you guys will definitely appreciate Part 1 for what it's worth once everything is wrapped up. So anyways, guys, I would have to say my overall review and thoughts for Part 1 is going to be a 7 out of 10. That's probably the best score I can offer it, as really what really keeps these releases amazing is the fact that the overall quality is absolutely phenomenal. The story, while it has an extremely slow start, starts to get really better with each continuous volume and just keeps getting better and better. So anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you guys would like to see a Part 2 review, I will definitely get working on that as well. But anyways, for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Anyways, peace out.